What's up, everybody, and Merry Christmas! Thank you all so much for spending today with me, and I want to wish a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season to those of you all who celebrate the holidays. And I want to thank you all for spending a part of your day with me today. If you all are enjoying my content, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe, and ring that bell to become a Kel Belle. But today, I figured we would talk about some holiday collections. Since it is Christmas, it's only fitting. So I'm going to be comparing some holiday collections from 2020 to collections from 2021, and we're gonna pick a winner. So this is completely subjective. This is all my opinion. We're gonna talk about some holiday launches that came out in 2020, and we're gonna see which one prevails compared to 2021 launches. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's start off with Natasha Denona, because that just so happens to be what I am wearing on my eyes and my cheeks. For 2020's holiday season, Natasha gave us two mini palettes. She gave us the mini Zindo palette, and she gave us the mini Metropolis palette, which so happened to come with a brush. I think that was a little gift with purchase for the holiday season. Here's the mini Zindo palette. I think this palette is different. It's very cool toned. It's somewhat light. So it's not necessarily something that I would select for myself. However, I can appreciate the beauty of the color short. And like I said, she also launched the mini Metropolis palette, and I think this palette is really beautiful. But this palette was a palette full of repeats. I can't remember if there was an original shade in here. I'm thinking that there wasn't, but I don't know. It might have been one. Can't remember. The mini Metropolis was a big hit. A lot of people were really excited to get their hands on that one. For this holiday season, we got the Glam face and eye palette. So we have the light one and we have the deep one. They're variations of the same palettes that are slightly changed to be able to fit lighter complexions or deeper complexions depending on which one you need. Also this holiday season, we have gotten the mini Biba palettes. So for holiday 2021, we got a little bit of a 2-for-1 situation going on, and another mini palette. I do think that Natasha favors mini palettes for the holidays because they are stocking stuffers, and I think that price point is palatable for a lot of people because there's a lot of spending that goes on from the months of October until December. In January, everybody's like, I'm on a low buy, but from October until December, everybody's Oprah, and you get one and you get one and you get one. So she comes out with these mini palettes, I think, because a lot of people don't have a problem buying them, and I think they're hot ticket gift items. So looking at the launches on a year-by-year basis, I'm gonna have to give it to 2021 because I feel like the eyeshadows that she launched this year are all similar, but they're all color stories that I enjoy. And I really love Natasha Denona's neutral eyeshadow formula. I think it's very smooth, and I like the tones of all of these palettes. So for me personally, 2021 is the winner. 2020 I think was cute, but if I'm being honest, going forward into 2022, I see myself reaching for the 2021 launches more than I see myself reaching back for the 2020 launches. So there you go. 2021! Now let's talk about some Char, aka Charlotte Tilbury. So let's first compare some Charlotte quads. So last year we got Fire Rose, and this year we got Celestial Pearl. Fire Rose 2020 launch. This is one of Charlotte's most desirable quads, and that's because a lot of people love Rose. Y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of Rose. However, this Rose quad is pretty. This one has the shimmers, it has a little bit of razzle dazzle, it has some depth there. It's a Fire Rose, so that's a little bit more interesting to me than just a plain pretty rose. A Fire Rose has that extra oomph to it, and this one had that. And I mean, this formulation is beautiful. It was smooth, it was dazzling, it's everything that you could ask for a rosy quad, and it has that little extra pop which makes it special for the holidays. And this year we have the Celestial Pearl Quad, which this one is super pretty. It's very smooth. We have a multi-dimensional shade in the mix, and I just love the way that it shines and it dazzles on my eyes. The way that it reflects, it's just everything. The packaging too of this quad reminds me a lot of the holiday season because it's just blingy. It's golden, it's beautiful. I love the shades. I think this formulation is everything. So if I'm having to battle it out between the 2020 holiday quad versus the 2021 holiday quad, I know y'all think I'm gonna pick 2021, but really I'm gonna give it up to 2020 because it's no small feat to get me to enjoy a rosy color story, and Charlotte was able to do that, so I'm gonna have to give it up to her for this one. I like this one. This one is the winner, Fire Rose. Next from Charlotte, we have the long palettes, and Charlotte really likes to give us these during the holiday season. So last year it was Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize, and this year is the Instant Eye palette, Smoky Eyes Are Forever. So even though both of these palettes are shaped the same, they are completely different palettes. Let's open it up. Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize is super pretty. Y'all know I went straight for this purple, and I love this palette. It has everything that I need in here to do a complete look. This eyeshadow formulation is so smooth. It gives you such a pretty reflective quality, and I have reached for this several times throughout the year, which is surprising because, you know, a lot of times with holiday makeup, it just is relevant to me during the holiday season, and then I kind of move on, and you know, it just is what it is. But I actually have thought about this palette, and I've used this several times. Smoky Eyes Are Forever is fun. This speaks to more so of a New Year's look than it does a traditional holiday Christmas party look. I love this color story too. What draws me into this palette is this green right here. I think that's super interesting. I have pretty much everything that I need to do a complete eye with this palette, but I wish that I had a mid-tone brown in there just to go right through the crease for a transition shade. But other than that, same silky smooth formula. I love it. I love the glide on it, but if I have to choose, let's look back at the other palette. Let's look at it. This one is a hard one just because they are so different. It's literally night and day. I'm gonna have to give it to Smoky Eyes Are Forever just because I think this palette is more sultry. It's speaking to my feistiness. I think that Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize is the prettier, softer sister, and Smoky Eyes Are Forever is the sexier, more sultry sister. So both of them deserve a place in my collection, but just which one speaks to me to be the winner, I'm gonna have to give it to Smoky Eyes, but it only wins by just a nudge. That's it. This really could have been anybody's game because both of them are amazing palettes. Y'all know we're gonna talk about some Pat McGrath, but before we dive into Mother, I want to talk about some more collections. So if you want to see my thoughts on Pat McGrath Holiday 2020 versus 2021, you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. Let's scoot over and talk about some collections that I may not have in my collection at this moment, but I still have opinions on. So let's talk about Dior, and I actually bought the Dior 2020 Golden Nights collection and I really liked it. But I did feel like there were some things that could have been improved. Namely the blush. I just felt like it was too light, and the lipsticks, they were okay. The stars of the collection were the eyeshadow palettes, and I think that both of them were really pretty. So I'm happy that I bought it because it had been a while since I purchased anything from Dior. Now fast forward to 2021, we have the new Dior holiday collection. We have the Atelier of Dreams collection, which I love that name. Let's just start there. That sounds extremely fancy, and whatever it is, I want to go there, I want to be there, I want to be with the people who are invited to be there. I love that name. This collection doesn't really appeal to me. I just feel like it was very safe. And one of the quads that was launched this year looks extremely similar to one of the ones that was launched last year. Maybe a little bit more daytime appropriate, less smoky, but in all, this collection looks pretty much the same. Even the blush, it looks like they picked that same type rosy iridescent blush shade that's not really gonna work on my complexion, and the imagery is different, but the color story of what was selected is essentially the same. So even though I have not physically tried out the Atelier of Dreams collection, I can safely say that I prefer the Dior Holiday 2020 collection, just because it was just a little bit edgier, and overall that is my preference. I'm down with pretty things from time to time, but I just feel like that collection was just way too safe, so I'm gonna have to call it 2020 was the winner for Dior. So when it comes down to holiday, bring it, don't be safe. Oh, we gotta talk about Hourglass, because Hourglass pretty much got canceled last year for their lack of inclusiveness. So we have to compare to see if they did a little bit better this year. Let's see. So 2020, we already know that that was the losing year for Hourglass, okay? Because they just decided that they were going to give us the same shade range that they typically give us for their ambient lighting palettes. And the people had decided enough was enough. We've been stuck in the house all year. We've been protesting. Things are changing. Black Lives Matter. We need to see a change, and Hourglass just wasn't giving it to us. And so the people were sick and tired of being sick and tired. So they say, you know what, Hourglass? You can keep it. We don't want it. Until you become more inclusive, we're not buying anything else from you. And Hourglass, I don't think they were gonna listen at first because they hadn't been listening, which is why they ended up in this predicament. But until they saw that people were serious and withholding the coins, they were like, oh, it's time for us to make a change. So finally this year, they gave us a little bit more diversity in the imagery that they included and with the shade selection for their ambient lighting powder. I did not pick up this palette simply based on the fact that I picked them up in the past, and in general, I feel like they all pretty much look the same. And yes, this one was deeper, but to me it's still could have gone deeper. So I just wasn't that intrigued with it. Based on the fact that they at least tried, I'm gonna say that this year was better. So clearly this year was the winning year if we compare this year to 2020. But I think 2023 is when they are going to have to literally knock it out of the park. And I mean, I want to see 3 or 4 different variations of the ambient lighting palette, and I want them to go deeper, and I want them to give different undertones, and I really want them to study the science behind deeper complexions and how different undertones turn different colors, and really give the people what they want. Because I feel like they gave the people like 50% of what they wanted. It's like, okay, we'll give it a little bit deeper, but they could have gone even further. I'm gonna say that neither year is a full win. I think this year was their year of change, but next year that needs to be their year of mastery. So I want to see them come even harder. So I honestly am not going to give them a win for either year. They're still growing. So next year I'm on the lookout and I'm watching them even harder. So with that being said, I'm coming back to the center to ground myself and close out this video with some Auntie Pat. Thank you all so much for being patient and waiting until this moment so we can compare some things that Pat launched in 2020 to what she launched in 2021. Let's get into it. The highlighter that launched in 2020 is Champagne Gold, and the highlighter that launched in 2021 is Lunar Nude. Can I just say that Champagne Gold wins off of presentation alone, because this is single-handedly the most heavy highlighter that I have in my entire collection. I mean, it really feels like a weight. 1, 2, it's super heavy and it just feels luxe. This one has the screw top, so I feel like it's super secure to travel with, even though it weighs a ton. So on one hand, yes, you won't have highlighter broken up in your makeup bag, but also you might have to pay a little extra because it's gonna weigh down your bag. So you gotta choose your battles. But anyways, this is what the highlighter looks like. It is a champagne color. I wouldn't say that it's gold. To me, it doesn't really have a whole lot of golden reflectiveness to it. To me, it's just straight up champagne, almost champagne tan. And I like the color of it. However, it is a little bit more brown on me, so it doesn't have that golden reflectiveness that I look for. So I find myself liking this more for the packaging than I do for the actual highlighter shade. But the highlighter formula is amazing. It is smooth, it is velvety. It is one of those highlighter formulas that almost could be a blush topper because it's so opaque. 2021 is the Lunar Nude highlighter, and this highlighter to me is more golden. So she could have easily called this one the Champagne Gold highlighter if she wanted to, because this one is the very definition of a champagne gold shade. This one is not as opaque as last year's. It definitely has that reflective quality that we know and love from Pat. The formulation is smooth. I prefer this color a lot more on my complexion because it complements it more, because it is a little bit more gold and less silvery. And for that reason, I'm going to have to give it to the 2021 highlighter because I love the color of it. I love that it functions more as a traditional highlighter. It's overall more my style when it comes to how I like to wear my highlighter. The only thing that I wish it had was this 2020 packaging, because if she gives us this packaging with this highlighter with the 2021 design, oh my gosh, I would have to have 3 of them. It would be the ultimate collector's piece for highlighter. And lastly, let's get into the mega palettes because they are so similar but yet they're so different. 2020, the Celestial Divinity. 2021, Celestial Odyssey. Both of the palettes have the same amount of eyeshadow, but both of them way different. The 2021 version feels more substantial in my hands, plus it's bigger. Can you all see that? Okay, so we have the 2020 palette. This palette has a lot of purples in there. There's a few pinks and a few golds sprinkled in there, but overall, this palette is riddled with purples. I wonder what will Kelsee choose. I did a few different looks using this palette over the course of the year. I actually filmed my official Pat McGrath Holiday 2020 video a while ago, and I just posted it like in September of this year. So I was out of pocket for that one, but I still wanted to go ahead and post it because a lot of y'all were still asking about it. So I still think this palette is very relevant and the color story speaks to me. This to me screams holiday in any situation, whether or not you're spending the holiday in your living room, whether or not you're going to a holiday party, whether or not you just want to look festive on the internet, it's all there. And y'all know I love the purples, but it also has fun pops of color here. Like this shade right here is just so fun to me. I love the shift. So needless to say, I really enjoyed this palette. And then we have the 2021 palette, which this one was the upgraded packaging palette because this palette is very sturdy. We have the serious packaging here. Last year's palette's packaging, can you say that really fast? Last year's palette's packaging. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. Last year's palette's packaging. This packaging is not as sturdy. It feels a little bit thinner, especially in comparison to this one. So that's points for this palette. This one is the more sophisticated version, okay? So I think this one has more of a diverse color story. I think it's balanced because we still have the pops of color like this green here. And of course, y'all already know she's gonna throw in that gold. I don't care what's going on, you're gonna get a gold shade, period. So even with those there, I think this one is more neutral and you can do a little bit more in terms of the versatility. So I think a lot of people will likely prefer this one for everyday looks. But if I'm looking at holiday makeup, you know, something that only happens once a year, I'm gonna have to give it to Celestial Divinity because it's more fun overall. The holidays are a time to have fun. It's a time to experiment. All year long, you can be serious. And to me, the 2021 palette is more serious. And when I think of the holiday season, I mean, I have to give it to the 2020 palette just because it just screams holiday to me. So looking back at the holiday collections of each year really shows where we were trend-wise. And it's like a little time capsule for our makeup loves, which is really fun for me to do. So let me know your thoughts on anything that I talked about in this video. And I look forward to reading what you guys have to say. Thank you all again for watching. Again, Merry Christmas to those of you all who celebrate. I hope that you all have the best day. And like I said, we still have a few more days to go in KelSLEIGH Vlogmas. Make sure you subscribe. That way you don't miss any videos from me. And I will check you all in my next one, which will be tomorrow. Have a beautiful day. Smooches. Bye.